You're listening to the audio production of Beyond the Castle, a guide to discovering your happily ever after, by Jody Jean Dreyer with Stacy Wendall, published by Zondervan and read by the author. Forward by Glenn Keane, read by Gabe Wicks. Conversations and events described in this book are retold from the author's best recollections, and they are not written to represent word-for-word transcripts. Rather, the author has shared these personal stories in a way that evokes the feeling and meaning of what was said, and in all instances the essence of the dialogue and attending circumstances is accurate. In addition, since the Walt Disney Company always has been and will continue to be a dynamic enterprise, the business practices described within this account were observed during the author's career, but may have changed since. Throughout this book, the author's Disney colleagues are mentioned by first names, with last names in parentheses upon introduction in each chapter. Otherwise, it's first names only. Disney is a first-name company. For years, the author worked alongside cast members, knowing details about their family, or even a recent vacation, without knowing their last names. Walt himself established the first-name tradition, believing that first names invited informality and enabled the flow of ideas. But if you feel the first-name reference is a little unusual, we understand. Consider this encouragement from a Disney University training pamphlet entitled Welcome to the Show. You may find our first-name policy difficult at first. Old habits are hard to break, but once you get the hang of it, we think you'll like our friendly, family way of doing things. We hope so, too. Forward. Happily ever after. Can that really be true? Is there such a thing? It all seems so impossible. However, I must confess that having worked as a Disney animator on fairy tales for many years, I was particularly drawn to animating the characters who believe the impossible is indeed possible. Ariel, though a mermaid, falls in love with a prince who walks on two legs and breathes air. The Beast is determined to believe that Belle could somehow look past his ugly, beastly exterior, tusks and all, and love him for who he is inside. There is hope at work here, and faith, and love. Who doesn't want to believe in that? Beyond the Castle, a guide to discovering your happily ever after, is a book about how the little things count in big ways. One might call them details, but they are what makes the difference. Jody's formative years in the Midwest have left her with a homespun practicality that she expresses with her own Mark Twain wisdom. She sees the ups and downs of life from a Disneyland roller coaster perspective and says, without a hill, there's no thrill. She divides the accumulation of a lifetime of stuff into treasure, trash, and trail mix. She shares lessons learned from the opening of Euro Disneyland and how to avoid the effect of queue rage in waiting lines. I first met Jody when she was working for Disney CEO Michael Eisner as the head of corporate synergy. I was an artist and not used to chumming around with Disney executives, but Jody, in her own natural way, made me feel at ease and relaxed. She exemplified that welcoming Disney quality. There's a certain pixie dust magic to her. As I read Jody's words, I find that same magic of belief in what she says. She lived it, loved it, and believed in it. Now she's sharing that with others. This is above all a book of hope. The castles of our life are not always shiny spires reflecting the sunshine. Sometimes they become quite dark and in need of transformation. I will never forget seeing Beast's Castle for the first time. It was the fall of 1989, and our animation team for Beauty and the Beast was in France on a research trip. We were driving down a long, narrow valley through the woods in the Loire Valley to visit the famous royal chateau, Chambord. Through the early morning fog, a dark, shadowy form emerged with its spires, walls, and towers, as if the Beast himself was personified by the stone edifice. As we approached, I imagined Beast running through its rooms filled with ancient furniture and draperies. But once having stepped inside, I found its hallways empty, all its interior decorations long gone. Yet somehow I could still feel the energy and life that once animated its halls. My imagination came alive, and I could envision a chateau transformed into the fairy tale castle at the end of Beauty and the Beast. Castles can inspire magic, in stories, films, and beyond. Now, after a 30-year career within Walt Disney's Magic Kingdoms, Jody transforms those years of experience into a fascinating story. Fairy tale castles, happy endings, and all. Glenn Keane.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?